Today we're at the Warren County, Iowa Fair, and we're here with the sheep judge, Doug Mounts. Doug, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Can you tell me what you're looking for with the showmanship portion of the show?
Well, with showmanship, we're looking for kids that show desire and enthusiasm, want to be here, and I want to compete, a certain amount of intensity, but yet kids that want to enjoy themselves and have a good time.
How often do they need to work with their lambs, in your opinion?
In preparation for fair, from the time school is out, they need to spend some time with them every day, preferably early in the morning or later in the evening, half an hour to 45 minutes.
And they're walking them?
They're walking them. They may be exercising. They may be practicing setting them up, teaching them to brace.
Can you tell when they've worked with their animals or when they haven't worked as long with their animals?
It's pretty obvious that when they're working with lambs, that they've learned to lead them. The lambs will follow, and many times you'll see youngsters dragging their lambs across the ring. And it is obvious that if it happens more than once or 2 or 3 times, then it's obvious that they maybe haven't worked with their lambs nearly enough.
And tell me what you're expecting from the kids as far as eye contact and movement with that lamb.
When I was a youngster, they said keep one eye on the judge and one eye on your animal. That's virtually impossible. But it is a case where young people have to know where the judge is at all times and have to have their animal in position. In the case of lambs, they need to have their lambs fixed. And when I turn to look at them, if I happen to glance for a comparison view, they need to know that I'm looking at them and they need to be prepared for it. So that lamb needs to be set up virtually all the time.
Okay, and when they come into the show ring, then you mentioned setting up. What does that mean?
Setting up basically means that we get the legs set underneath the animal. If we can get the animal squarely set on his feet and legs, the rear legs need to be, rear feet need to be placed an equal distance apart, and basically they're taught to stay in that position. The front legs then would be roughly straight down from the front of the body.
And when they're in the ring and they're moving around, sometimes you even switch lambs on them.
Oh, yes.
And what are you looking for there?
When I switch directions with them, I want them to maybe cross in front of me. And if they cross in front of me, sometimes they have to change sides.
Okay.
So that they don't find themselves between their animal and me.
All right.
The other situation is many times where I have them switch animals. As a good showman, you need to make a quick evaluation and a judgment call as to how I handle this new animal, since I've never handled it before.
Right.
And the real successful showman can show not only theirs, but everyone else's to the best of their ability.
And I know in the showmanship, you were talking to the kids, asking them some questions. What were some of those questions?
I think every young person that's involved in a 4-H project or an FFA project has to know some background information and some things that they need to know as a feeding program, nutrition, what they can anticipate lambs gaining, how they feed them, what they feed them, the frequency of feeding forage. All of those things those kids need to take an interest in and understand, because that's all part of the growing process.
And I know our champion showman, he was asked about what he would change about his lamb. Is that a good question for them?
Generally, that is a very good question, because a lot of times when we have our own lamb project or our own livestock project, we get blindsided. We see all the good things and don't see the bad. And a good showman must know the good and the bad of their animal, because they have to show them out of some of the bad problems or some of the small problems that they may have that may present a bad image.
I know some animals might have some flaws. How do the kids handle that?
Well, an example that I might use is a lamb that is easy in its top line or sags in its top line. Knee pressure, leg pressure from the front of the lamb, if the rear feet are set, will tend to bring that top line up.
And that's what you call bracing?
That's what I call bracing. In many cases, a more extreme case of that would be the lamb must push off his rear legs and push into the exhibitor, so that he gives an impression that the top line is really firm and the muscle mass is really there. And the same thing is true as you view them from behind. They'll give you some muscle definition to the rear end.
A sheep project sounds like a great thing for an acreage.
It works out perfectly. There are a number of other projects that work out as well. But they lend themselves to small, limited acreages, small facilities.
Right.
And it works out extremely well for the young people to have a hands-on application of learning how to do things.
Right.
And we're teaching them to enjoy work. And if it becomes a labor of love, then it's not work anymore, and they enjoy it and they learn a lot more easily.
Wonderful learning experience. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to hear from Living the Country Life.
Looking for the latest gadgets and gear? Check out these cool country tools. You've got a lot of ground to cover. Do it with the Monroe Tough Line Spreader. Available in 300 or 600-pound load capacities, hitch this spreader right to your ATV. Use it for wildlife plots, lawn and pasture seedings, fertilizing applications, and wintertime salt and sand spreading. Set the spreader to disperse the load in a 180-degree spread pattern up to 35 feet wide. Make it easy to get rid of flies with Simplify with Larva-Stop, the only feed-through fly control granted reduced risk status by the FDA. This horse feed additive reduces fly populations from 97 to 100%. Simplify inhibits the development of houseflies and stable flies in the manure of treated horses. Lawn Boy lets you get your mowing done faster with the Zero Radius Turning Mower. The ZRT is designed to precisely navigate around obstacles easily and quickly. Choose from 4 premium quality engines that come with a 2-year full warranty. Lawn Boy's exceptional maneuverability and exclusive features makes mowing enjoyable. To get your cool country tools, log on to livingthecountrylife.com.